Faxi Nadu here. I'm going to show you today how we set up our live act, our live performance. We're calling it an Ocean Star Empire performance. We're calling it purely live act, and basically it's performed by myself and by us together. 2 out of the 4 people out of the band, because of course Kyle and Nuno are from the USA and from Portugal. So we have just the 2 of us at our disposal. I have done a video about how we set it up. I've shown another track, and I've done it with a screen capture program. So it's a little bit different. With the screen capture program you can see what we're doing on the PC, and today I want to show you with another track what we're doing with all these magnificent synths and machines that we have right in front of our face. So I'm going to try to get as much information in as possible, like all the things that go into making such a tune. So what we basically did is, if you look at the computer, we have Ableton Live open up, and now this track is already, if you look at the channels, everything is already spread out, as you can see, and it's ready to play with. It's not a finished track. I'll show you in a minute more on what's going on in Ableton. But the first thing you have to do when preparing a track to perform a live performance is you have to get your stems ready. In order for them to play nice with Ableton, you have to snap everything perfect. For that, we went first of all to the folder of all the track parts, and you take each part. Let's say, for example, one that I had to do a lot of work on was the not the dirty chord, the gothic choir. So you have to open it up, and as you can see, it's made out of 3 different parts. So what you have to do in this case, you have to take every single part and snap it perfectly so it starts exactly on the one, and this is mega important. So I go in all the way, and I've shown this on the other vid, I'm just showing everything again. Cut. And now it's snapped. I don't really mind about the end because I'm going to loop it in Ableton anyway, but you can cut a little bit just to save some disk space. So you do that to every single one of the pieces of your track. It's a little bit of blue collar type of work, but it's got to be done. Once you have all these pieces, all these loops, so to say, perfectly snapped and ready, you can then open up Ableton, load up the right BPM for your track for all your stems, and you can start loading up your stems. The next thing you got to do is you got to go to the very beginning of your sound, because now you know it actually does start there. It's snapped perfectly. And then right click and warp the BPM, which in our case is 120 BPM, from there. And then it'll snap it perfectly. It'll then realize the correct loop length and everything. Then all you have to do is set the loop and the end marker, and everything should theoretically be perfect right now. So you do that for every single one of your channels, every single thing that you want to put inside of here. That's the basic idea. Where there's a few things where it's a little bit different, at least for our usage, to actually kind of save space and be able to do more of the live stuff. We kind of free ourselves. So instead of having each and every single drum, we have drum loops that we've made, and we have drum hits, the basic core drums, which is kick, closed hat, open hat, snare, and the crash, which I haven't yet put in here. So there's still work to do. Like I said, I'll mention every time what else there is still to do, so you can kind of feel the process. So for example, here we open the sampler, and we're missing still okay, we have the crash sample in there. I just did not sequence it into any of the loops yet. So we have different drum loops, and the way I will trigger them is I have them all set up on this very first channel on the Novation Launchpad, and I can trigger just the kick, and a bit of the closed hat, and then this one has the snare come in, open hat, and then a little more groove, full groove, and a sort of kick feel. And you notice I've left the last one empty because I want to be able to, let's say I have the track playing, this is the bass line, and I want to have a fill, so I can do So I do want an empty one over here just for more control. On the computer, I can make more fills that I can trigger them with the mouse if I really want to. But all the important stuff will be available on the Launchpad, so I can work quicker, but I do also, of course, work with the mouse as well. So you have every single one of these channels, and this one, like we said, is on a sampler. The rest of them are audio samples up until a certain point, and it's pretty much regular. Like I have them also set up kind of in a as logical as possible kind of way, where I'd have always on all the tracks similar types of sounds arranged in similar places in the as far as numbering goes. Okay, so whenever I open one of our tracks, I always know that this would be like the kick and the drums, this would be the bass line, and groove elements. Over here we have a second layer for the bass line, which is like a top layer. And then we have drums, a second layer of drums, and then we start going to the synth stabs, two different kind of tones, but it's the same line. A pad, you're starting to get into the pad sort of stuff. Twirls. And then I could work with this. I could actually scroll and go to the other channels, but since I have this very cool APC40 here, so the first 8 channels will be over here, the second 8 channels will be over here, for a total of 16 channels that I can control with both of these. And then there's other channels over there, we'll get to them, but then we have 3 more over here that I'll just control with the mouse. And they're like, I wouldn't say not important ones, but like this one is a pass, it's just a pass. I'm triggering it and I forget about it. So I just trigger it, and then I can go back to doing whatever I want to do here. It doesn't matter, so I can have it with the mouse. And this is just like, just a bell sound on each one hit of every few bars. So also, it's really not a big sound. It's no big deal if it stays in the mix longer than I intended or anything. It's just a stab and it's over there and it's fine. You know, it's not a vulgar thing that really does require that I have it over here. So these would be over here, and then here I have words, and I wanted to show you this channel. So what's interesting about this channel is we have this word channel, which this word clip, where you know it's pretty long. It's a 17-bar loop, and she's saying different words, and they're all on the one, so it's all synced. Everything is all good. But over down here, I have one-shot words, like not exactly one shot. She's saying. This is another or. Short sentences, okay, and they're all exactly 2 bars. So what I wanted to do here, like if I trigger this one, it'll play all these samples, finish the loop. Okay, it is on loop, but I do not want it on loop. So we'd finish playing it, and that's it. Here, what we have going is something called follow actions. If you look over here, follow action. What it basically tells it, and we've put it over here. If you look, it's on any. And here, the likeness of it happening is all the way. It's for sure happening. The follow action is for sure happening after 2 bars. What this actually means is these 3, which are grouped together, it knows each one of them is set to the same follow action of any. It means that it'll play the first one, and then randomly one of these 2. This is another or. Or sorry, one of these 3. Okay, so it played that again. This is another or. And again. Okay, hold on. This is another or. This is another or. It's not working right. Gonna leave. This is another or. Okay, there we go. And now it's going to randomly to one of the other ones. Now it's just gonna leave. Eventually it'll reach the 3rd one as well, of course. This is another or. So these follow actions are running all the time, and it's pretty cool. And when I'm tired of it, I can just stop it over here. So just wanted to show you just one usage for the follow actions. Now, that is as far as the PC goes. Everything you've seen here is either audio channels or stuff that is treated like audio channels, like the kick and the bass. So what if it's on a sampler? I trigger it as if it was an audio loop anyway. So it's exactly the same. Then we have all the external stuff going. So we have, as you can see, we have a K station, Novation K station, a Yamaha DX200, an XS Virus, a Nord Lead 3 from Clavia, the APC and the launchpad which you've seen, an MPK25 MIDI controller from Akai, Waldorf Rocket, and a Line 6 Pod XT. So what do we do with all this stuff? We're sending out, first of all, how is it actually connected? Let's get to that for a second. There we go. We have this little USB hub, and over here all the stuff that can get power, it's a powered hub, so all the stuff that actually needs good stable USB is connected over there. And actually basically this, and this are all connected via USB and don't need anything else as far as, well, they do actually. This one needs power and this one needs audio, but still you're connecting these four to the USB and it's working well. Another thing this does is you don't need, like the Nord Lead 3, these four synths, okay, they don't have USB MIDI, they have old school MIDI. So these guys being USB over MIDI really frees up the MIDI chain, as you will see in a second. So that is as far as connectivity. We have it all going into this shitty Behringer ADAT interface and into the scope. And then we have each of these channels wired into Ableton. And I'll show you in a minute how to do that. One more thing, when we take this show live, we also use this thing. And this is a Native Instruments Audio DJ 6 or 8, sorry. It's the Audio DJ 8, and it has 8 I/O, and you can also connect a mic. And oh yeah, one more thing, we do have also a mic that we use in some tracks, not in this track. And I just put like a delay line and some EQ on it, and I can just do woo and crazy stupid things with it. So when we take it live, this thing also connects via USB. It doesn't need its own power, which is great, and it connects through the USB box. And it is actually, I was surprised, a bit skeptic. I had an M Audio Firewire like this in the past, and it was really crappy. And when I got this, I was skeptic and was afraid it would also cut out and not be really stable, but it's actually working great. And it even has the classic MIDI and everything that we need. We'll show you in a bit. So for performing, and it's really rugged, so performing, this is great. We tested it and it works perfect, so that's great. So let's get back to what we're doing in the studio. So we were talking about all the external stuff, and if we go over to it, we've shown how everything is connected. Now, what is everything actually doing? So first of all, let's get a little bit to who is doing what. I'll show you more of that in a little bit, but let's talk about the synths. So as I've said, it's me and Os, and she has, in this particular track, she's controlling the Nord Lead 3, the Waldorf Rocket, and a synth from inside Ableton. So again, this is a track in progress. We haven't really decided on everything. We've just we have all the audio laid out, but the synths, you know, we're just messing around, putting up presets and seeing what it does. So I'm controlling this K station, and it has this kind of sound on it. And one of the keys is don't do too much. Well, it depends what you're trying to do, but if you're doing a set like this where I'm triggering things and she's triggering things and we're doing all sorts of stuff, the synth has to be kind of like, you know, we have 1 or 2 knobs that we're using on each synth, and we're letting it run pretty much, and we're counting on the knobs, which will obviously often be the cutoff knob or the decay knob or stuff like that, to make the synth dynamic. And of course a lot of delay lines and stuff going on. So what we have here, for example, is we're taking like chords from the track, and it's arpeggiating on the right BPM, and it's just, and I can automate the cutoff and the resonance and the release. So this would be one of them, and then on the DX we have this really strange sound, as is often the case with the DX. And oh, sorry, it's not supposed to play. It's supposed to play this. So a really psychedelic type of thing, and I can of course manipulate this as well. and really get nice sweet spots with the distortion and everything on this machine. So these would be the two that I'm controlling. You notice that the virus is turned off. It's because the virus is not yet in play in this tune. And another thing to mention before we continue with the synths is, again, I've mentioned that these don't have USB MIDI. So of course you have to daisy chain the MIDI, and we're having, as you can see, the MIDI through. So the Nord lead would be MIDI channel 1, and the through will go first to here. And I've set this, I think, to channel 15. And then this would be channel 14, and this could be channel 13, 12, 11, whatever. We haven't decided what to do with this yet, so we do have still a pretty cool free a free synth, like, you know, a synth that we haven't used. It's still free. We haven't used it in the track, and you know, maybe we'll take one of the MIDIs or write a new one or something like that. So let's go to what Os is doing. So like I've mentioned, she's doing something from the computer, one line, and this is still kind of, maybe we'll add a delay line or change this a little bit. Right now it's very simple. It's just this, but it's already in the context of the mix. It's doing a lot. It may not sound like a lot, but just the dynamic feel, the little changes are doing a lot. And let's see. Over here what we have is the way to trigger it. Os is triggering her own channels. So to trigger this synth that you've just heard, she would go, and then a second line, a second clip, and then this would be to turn it off. So everything is set up for her this way, and the same thing with the next synth that she has, which is the Nord lead. And again, not sure that this is going to be the exact sound in the track. And manipulating the cutoff as well as the pitch bend, which is pretty cool. Now what is cool is we have another line doing this same thing in the track. I think it's this one. And when you're in this one, you can get really psychedelic. And of course you can do all the performance-based things like shifting octaves, modulation wheel, and all that. And the Nord lead does what it does, which is get stuck sometimes. Okay, and the last thing she has is the Waldorf Rocket. Again, this is still... Oops. So this would be the Waldorf Rocket, and it's doing this kind of gnarly thing that comes in and out of the mix. Again, the same line, right? So if she's putting in the Nord now, okay, I closed it here. Obviously this was really crappy, but you get the idea of the way to improv. Notice another thing, this is not connected right now in this track. Kind of decided the Rocket is dirty enough as it is. You don't need to make it even dirtier using the pod, but in other tracks we do connect the Rocket through the pod and get some you know, little amped little effect, which is pretty cool for it. And so that's it for all the basic channels of the track. As you've heard, each one of them is kind of simple, but each one of them has a specific role kind of in the mix, and we kind of, you have to, because you're doing live and because it's two people and there's lots of music going on, it's always improvised, so you have to kind of make sure that all your parts more or less at least play nice with the other parts. So I won't be kind of surprising us with like something that I put in the track that she's not expecting, and it's not, exactly how she's putting in something else and it's kind of clashing. So you kind of try to avoid that. Kind of think a little bit like a jazz musician, like you have a jazz ensemble. So every one of the musicians is not overpowering the other one, because each one of them is pretty much improvising on a certain set. So think in the same kind of way. You're two people that are improvising and you're inputting and outputting various things. So kind of make sure that you do have a good flow and that everything works together. And nothing is kind of, no one thing has just one spot where it's cool, you know. Everything should be cool with everything else or it really won't work. So that's pretty much how you set it up. Just as an example, you know, I can, let's pretend we're doing one, and just for the fun of it, it's not going to be very good. So, one last thing. The last channel we have always is just called Rec. It's a recording channel. It's set up via the I/O to capture everything, external input 1 and 2, and we can now record the tune if we want to. It'll record everything that we're doing. It's coming back, it's just taking the master and recording the master. So we can record our live takes and it does work well. The scope's audio is really stable. We didn't really, anything we did, it did finish the recording and it was all solid always, so which is a pretty cool thing. So we always open and keep a recording strip as the last channel of each track. We can hit record and then go and do our thing, whatever we want to do. So for example, and it's gonna suck, okay, but I'm just giving an example.
Looks like it's white.
And us is inputting from the rocket and stuff like that. So.
Clouds are moved in. No stars in the sky.
And I don't want to go too much because obviously you're listening with the phone and it won't sound like, you know, it just sounds like crap, everything that you're hearing. But as you've seen, what I'm doing right now is I'm not manipulating any of the actual audio channels, which is a shame, and the other tracks we do it. And I have all these knobs available to me that are still free, that we haven't linked and we haven't done anything with them. So what we might still do to this track is, like, we can take another drum sampler, for example, and load up little drum shots and have it for me like over here on one of the first channels, and I can trigger it, and then have like you know, the granular delay from Ableton or other stuff, other effects, and I can have them linked to these controllers, as well as other stuff like delay lines that I can wet and dry on various channels, and all that we will do at the next stage of this track and have it all available for me as controllers. So just to summarize, Os has her channels that she can trigger and stop. She's playing with the synths, if this is connected with this as well. I'm triggering the stuff. In this particular track I do have these two synths. Normally I'm more just doing the triggering and she's doing the synth, but because this table is very big and it's a little bit more awkward in this track and all this gear working together, we might still, like I said, add the virus, and then we will of course give her control to the virus via the Akai MPK25. So this is a little bit how we set it up. This is, like I said, a track in progress. You can watch our other vid, which has another track and is filmed, like I said, using a screen capture, and it shows a little bit more what we're doing in Ableton. And it's using a more developed track already, so you can see a little bit more what I'm doing also with the Akai APC40. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Watch our other videos. As always, check out our music. Have a good one. Bye bye.